We are watching Daniel's breaststroke above the water, commentary by Coach Chris. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and we're going to let this run so we can see how things are looking. Now, a lot of what we're going to see, we're going to talk about with the underwater video. There's only a few things really to check above water. The underwaters with the breaststroke gives us a much clearer view. But just from what I saw right there, I'm seeing that Daniel is doing a lot of the things that we talk about. And you can definitely see him trying to execute the breaststroke that we talk about. I mean, here we have him, he's coming up nice and high, trying to come out over the water. I think we can time the kick a little better, but, you know, we're trying to get up and over with the breaststroke as opposed to down and under the water. A lot of the kids, as they come up and as they learn breaststroke, they think about the diving motion, and really breaststroke's more like the butterfly, or coming up and over the water. And with breaststroke, you want to get up even higher than butterfly because a lot of that lift as he comes up is what's driving his pull. We'll see this underwater, but you know, this part where his elbows come in, that lift and that bringing the elbows in and the hands through those corners, that's exactly what we're looking for, because the lift is actually powering that stroke. So this is really good right here as far as the height. Now, one of the big things I'm looking at when we're checking these videos for the above water is kind of this right here. You can see his hands are about to come out, and we'll frame forward, and then you can see he's bringing the hands up to the face. Now his upper arm's already out of the water, so that's great. I'd like to see his hands stay just at the surface. And a lot of the kids are trying to get high in the water, so they bring the hands out. And I think that's what Daniel used to do to try to simulate that coming up in the water, getting high in the water. But now that he's actually getting his body up on top of the water, and he's actually coming up and out of the water with his chest and shoulders, his hands don't have to come up anymore as high as they used to. So I always tell the kids, and we repeat this in practice, you know, have the hands so that the thumb is just at the surface or just under the surface. That's as high as his hands need to go. And that way he can reach straight forward across the water instead of sweeping up like this. Because you can see this path that his hand's going to take. You know, it's going to come up and then it's going to kind of do like a little rainbow motion like this. And you can kind of see how he's doing that. And if we can get rid of that and just reach straight out, you know, across the water, straight forward, that'll help with some of that that forward momentum, because you can kind of see as he comes up, not quite driving forward as much as we want him to. And we'll talk about that underwater, because part of that's where he's looking in his head position as he's finishing that kick. But we got a real nice shoulder shrug. I mean, his upper body, his arms, outside of that little recovery where he's throwing the hands out of the water, looks really, really good. He's getting the elbows up towards the surface. We want to be at the surface. We don't want to be under the surface, or we don't want to be above the surface, but we want to be right to the surface so that this upper arm is out of the water. So he knows exactly what we're looking for. This will lead him to develop a really powerful stroke. So we're getting to that wall. Solid turn. He keeps his head forward, brings arm back. I mean, this is one of the better turns I've seen from Daniel. So I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing, because that was a solid technique. And we'll talk about the pull-out as we look at it underwater, get a little better view. But again, I mean, I really like what I'm seeing with the height. I like the upper body where it's at. It's just as we fix this head position, get the head down, keep the hands going forward instead of up and over. throwing them in that kind of rainbow pattern, that rainbow path, and just reaching forward at the surface. And that's really going to help drive forward and increase his speed for that breaststroke. So let's take a look at this underwater. What I'm seeing above water is really good, and only a few things to kind of work on and think about. And then we'll take a look under the water and see what we can see.